Okay, let's unpack this. For so long, we've been told financial success is all about, spreadsheets, formulas, market timing, always chasing the next big thing. But what if it's not? What if it's something much more, well, human,
Hmm.
about what's going on in your head? Today, we're taking a deep dive into Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. It's been really widely read. Our source material is a comprehensive review of this book, and our mission here is to pull out those key bits of wisdom, the ones that show how our behavior, our emotions, our mindset, how they're actually way more crucial than just being smart with numbers when it comes to money. Get ready for some surprising facts, I think, and insights that might just shift how you look at things.
Okay.
So right out the bat, the book kind of flips the script on what we usually think about building wealth. It argues that financial success isn't really about how smart you are, like your IQ or technical skills. It's about how you behave with money.
Exactly. It's your emotions, your mindset, your habits. Houses basically says these matter much more than knowing finance theory. And it's a profound shift, because it admits that our financial decisions often, well, they defy pure logic.
They really do.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is Housels highlights how much harder it is to manage our own behavior than it is to learn some complex financial formula. That's the real challenge.
Hmm.
Our choices get driven by these really deep psychological things, fear, greed, ego, envy, pride.
Things we all feel.
Absolutely. And you've likely felt these yourself in your own money decisions, right? Those times where you knew what you should do, logically.
Yeah. But you did something else.
Exactly. Some impulse just takes over. It really forces you to look inward to see that, human nature is often the biggest variable in the whole equation.
That makes so much sense. Even with all the data in the world, our own feelings, our own biases can just completely override rational thought.
Yeah.
Now, Housel structures the book, I understand, as 20 short essays, each tackling a different angle on this.
That's right. Short, impactful chapters. And one of the first big ideas he dives into is this whole tangle of luck and risk. They're two sides of the same coin.
Okay, tell me more about that. How does he illustrate it?
Well, he uses the compelling example of Bill Gates. We all know him. Tech visionary, brilliant guy.
Sure.
But the book points out something crucial, something often overlooked. His incredible success wasn't just about brilliance. A huge piece of the puzzle was that he had access, back in the 1970s, to one of the world's only high school computers.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely luck.
It's a massive stroke of luck. And it makes you ask, right? How much of what we call skill is actually just being in the right place at the right time, a fortunate set of circumstances?
So what does this mean for our own ideas of success? Are we giving luck enough credit? Or maybe too much blame when things go wrong?
That's exactly the point. This perspective can really change how you view your own wins and losses. Success is almost never just skill. Luck and timing are always in the mix, whether we like it or not. And the flip side is true, too. Sometimes failure isn't about lacking skill. It's just bad luck, bad timing, unfortunate circumstances. It encourages a more nuanced view, maybe a more humble view, too.
Yeah, a bit more humility about our successes and maybe a bit more grace about our failures. That's quite powerful.
Yeah.
And speaking of perspective shifts, the book tackles another really tough one, this relentless chase for more. It introduces this idea of knowing when you have enough, which sounds simple, but is it?
It sounds simple, but it's profoundly difficult in practice. Housel argues that overreaching, just pure greed, essentially, is often why very wealthy people end up losing everything.
Really? They just don't know when to stop pushing.
Exactly. They don't set that goalpost for enough. And this is a critical psychological barrier for so many of us. This constant pursuit of more, often fueled by comparing ourselves to others or some vague idea of what wealth should look like, it becomes this endless chase.
And potentially destructive.
Potentially very destructive. The book really hammers home that setting limits, understanding what actually brings you security and contentment, is vital. Without that internal boundary, you risk losing what you already have because you were taking unnecessary risks just to get a little bit more.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Wanting more can lead to having less. But, for a lot of people, especially starting out, enough feels like a luxury concept. They're just trying to get by. How does the book bridge that?
It's less about a specific dollar amount and more about focusing on what truly provides that contentment and security for you, rather than chasing external markers like fancy cars or what the neighbors have. It's about building a lifestyle that aligns with your values, not constantly trying to win some race against an invisible standard.
Okay, so defining your own finish line, essentially.
Precisely. And speaking of building things over time, let's talk about compounding. This is another huge theme.
Right, the magic of compounding interest. We hear about it, But does Housel offer a fresh take?
He really does, especially with the story of Warren Buffett. It's a fantastic detail. Most of Buffett's enormous fortune, the vast majority, actually came after his 60s.
After his 60s, wow. Not when he was younger and supposedly sharper.
Nope. It wasn't some late-life genius investing streak. It was simply because he started investing early, consistently, and crucially, he never stopped. He just let time work its magic.
So time. Time is the real superstar here.
Time is absolutely the most underrated tool for building wealth. It's not about being the smartest investor. It's about being consistent and patient over a very long period. Decades, really.
Decades, okay.
Exactly. Housel does a great job showing the exponential power of compounding. It's tricky because the early gains feel so small, almost pointless.
Yeah, it feels slow at first.
Very slow. But patience and consistency are so much more powerful than trying to hit home runs or get rich quick. People chase those high-risk strategies looking for a shortcut.
When the real power is just staying invested.
Yeah. Staying invested, letting it grow, reinvesting. It's less exciting, maybe more boring, but far more effective. It's about hitting singles every day, every year, for a long, long time.
A marathon, not a sprint. That makes perfect sense. And honestly, probably the least sexy but most effective advice out there.
Absolutely. It's the consistent, sometimes boring effort that pays off the most in the long run.
Okay, so related to this long-term view, Housel makes a really interesting distinction. He talks about being rich versus being truly wealthy. What's the difference there?
This is a really critical point he makes, and it clarifies what many people are actually aiming for, even if they don't realize it. Being rich, in his view, is mostly about high current income, fancy car, big house, lots of spending, but it's often tied directly to that income stream. If the income stops,
The richness disappears.
exactly, it's often fragile. Being wealthy, on the other hand, is different. It means having freedom, having control over your time, having sustainable financial security. It's the money you don't spend.
It's having options.
It's having options and autonomy. Wealth is what allows you to wake up and decide how you want to spend your day, rather than being forced to chase a paycheck just to maintain appearances. That resonates really deeply with, I think, our basic human desire for control.
That definitely shifts the goalpost. It's not about flashing cash. It's about having peace of mind, freedom.
Freedom and control, that's the core of wealth, according to Housel.
And how do you build that? That's sustainable security. The book apparently has a pretty fundamental insight here too, right? About saving.
Yes, another core behavioral idea. Building wealth isn't primarily about earning a massive income. It's about saving consistently. That habit,
Even more important than investment returns sometimes.
especially in the early stages, yes. He makes the surprising point that your savings rate, the percentage of your income you actually put away, can matter more than your investment returns when you're starting to build wealth.
Why is that?
Because initially, the amount you're saving is a much bigger driver of your net worth growth than the returns on those savings. Think about it. Saving $100 consistently adds $100. Getting a 10% return on your first $1,000 only adds $100 over a year. The act of saving builds the foundation.
Okay, that makes sense. The habit is the engine at first.
It's a fundamental behavioral insight. People get so caught up chasing the highest returns, the next hot stock, but they overlook the simple power of consistently putting money aside. It shows self-control, foresight. It proves that what you do with your money matters more than just how much you make.
So it boils down to, it's not just what you earn, it's what you keep and manage.
Precisely. And that connects right back to that wealth versus rich idea. The ultimate goal, the best thing money can buy, Housel argues.
Is control over your time, freedom.
Exactly. Control over your time and your choices. That's the highest form of wealth.
And why does that resonate so much?
Because it taps into that deep psychological need for autonomy. The ability to dictate your own life, choose your work, maybe choose not to work, spend time with family, pursue passions. That's often the real motivation behind wanting money.
Money is just the tool to get there.
It's the tool to buy that freedom. It's not about accumulating stuff necessarily, but accumulating options and the power to live life on your own terms.
That's a much more meaningful goal than just a bigger bank balance.
Yeah.
And finally, there's this idea in the book that seems quite comforting, actually. The idea that you're not alone in how you think about money.
Yes, it's a really important point about perspective. He explores how everyone sees money differently, based entirely on their unique upbringing, their generation, their personal experiences with booms and busts, poverty or privilege.
So my view of risk might be totally different from yours, just based on when and where we grew up.
Absolutely. Someone who grew up during hyperinflation might hoard cash, while someone who saw a huge bull market might be overly optimistic about stocks. Neither is necessarily wrong. Their views are shaped by their reality.
Which kind of pushes back against the idea that there's one single right way to handle money, doesn't it? Finance gurus often preach the way.
It definitely does. Given that vast range of experiences, Housel argues there can't be one single right approach that works for everyone. The book validates that diversity. It encourages you, the listener, to understand your own money psychology, figure out your biases, your fears, what drives you, and just as importantly, be empathetic to others.
Don't judge someone else's financial choices too quickly.
Exactly. What looks irrational to you might be perfectly rational based on their life story and their own perception of risk and reward. It promotes understanding over judgment.
That feels like a really healthy takeaway for navigating, well, life, not just finance. Okay, so let's shift gears slightly and talk about the book itself. Our review highlighted its strengths. Accessibility seems key.
Definitely. It's written in a really simple, relatable style. Uses stories, real-life examples, anecdotes, not dense academic theory or complex jargon.
Makes it easy to pick up.
Very easy. The short essay format helps too. You can read a chapter in 10 minutes. And the wisdom feels universal, timeless stuff about behavior and mindset, not just fleeting market trends.
But it's good to have a balanced view. What about criticisms? Any weaknesses pointed out?
Sure. Some readers feel certain ideas like compounding or the role of luck get repeated a bit across different chapters. Maybe it could have been slightly more concise for some.
Okay.
But the main thing to clarify, and this is really crucial for managing expectations, is that this is not a technical finance book.
Right. Not a how-to guide.
Not at all. If you're looking for step-by-step instructions on how to invest, specific strategies, formulas for asset allocation, you won't find them here.
Yeah.
It's much more about the philosophy of money, the psychology. Think of it more like financial wisdom or even self-help than a practical manual.
Good distinction. So who is this book really for then? Who gets the most out of it?
Well, based on our dive, it seems perfect for beginners in finance. People who feel maybe intimidated or overwhelmed by all the technical stuff. This gives them a great entry point focused on mindset.
Makes sense.
Also fantastic for young professionals. Helps build a really healthy money mindset early on before bad habits get ingrained.
What about people already investing?
Even for seasoned investors or entrepreneurs, it's a valuable read. Great reminders about patience, managing your own behavior, the dangers of ego and greed, understanding risk, things we can all forget when we're caught up in the moment.
And maybe anyone just chasing wealth without really thinking why.
Absolutely. Anyone who's blindly chasing more could really benefit from its prompts to rethink what enough actually means to them.
So wrapping this up, the psychology of money. It sounds like it won't teach you how to pick the next winning stock or give you a magic formula for getting rich overnight.
Definitely not. No magic formulas here.
But what it will do, it seems, is fundamentally change how you think.
Yeah.
How you think about money, about risk, freedom, wealth, maybe even happiness.
I think that's fair to say. It really shifts the focus away from external things like market movements and complex strategies.
And puts it squarely on internal factors, our own behavior.
Exactly, our own psychology, which, as Housel argues so powerfully, is often the real deciding factor in whether we achieve long-term financial well-being.
And that change in mindset, that perspective shift. That's the foundation for every single financial decision you make, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It influences everything. How you save, how you spend, how you invest, how you react when markets go down, how you define success for yourself. It underpins it all.
So it leaves us, and you listening, with something important to think about.
Yeah, a key question to mull over might be this. How might really recognizing the role luck plays in outcomes, or taking the time to consciously define what enough means for you personally, how might doing that actually change your next financial decision? Or maybe even just change your broader outlook on what success and contentment really look like in your life?